While SpaceX is in full swing to get Starship Flight 12 out the door at Starbase, NASA is racing to do the first crewed flight around the moon in over 50 years. Starship version 3 is close to its debut, and SLS is trying to shorten the gap to SpaceX's HLS. How would you feel if NASA and SpaceX beat China? How would you feel if they don't? That's what's at stake. My name is Felix, welcome to What About It, let's dive right in. Starship updates. SpaceX is in final preparation for Ship 39 and Booster 19. Today, before going over to SLS and NASA and Artemis II, we'll focus on those very important last steps left before a rollout. On the last episode, I showed you some trouble SpaceX crews had attaching tie rods on the can crusher in preparation for upcoming proof tests with B-18.3. Now those problems are a thing of the past. In the few days between this and the last episode, crews at Massey's made quick progress, caging in B-18.3 and getting it ready. It's evident everywhere now. SpaceX is going all hands on deck with multiple test candidates in active testing. And now even with 2 test tanks simultaneously. As can be seen on Avid Space's cameras, S39.1, the current test tank for Ship 39, and B-18.3, the equivalent for Booster version 3, are testing at the same time. SpaceX has such a stuffed schedule right now that we saw both do hour-long cryo tests side by side. While S39.1 is still testing version 3 Starship structure, B-18.3 is doing the same for boosters. No visible problem, no unwanted ruptures, everything went as smoothly as it could. We went up in the air at Starbase again and Jordan took some of our best shots yet. From the air you can see the entire test setup as it stands at Massey's right now. Let's go through them real quick. We have B-18.1. It tests the version 3 booster design, specializing in the tank structure and the aft section. It's still inside the can crusher. It consists of a forward dome section joined with a common dome, an aft section, and additional barrel sections between them. It has performed 12 tests so far, the last one on December 16th. Right next to it, and as mentioned, now strapped down with tie rods and a lid on top, we have B-18.3. It specializes in the forward section of the version 3 booster design, specifically the new hot staging ring. While tied down between a stand and the cap on top, it tests the strength of the entire forward assembly, the integrated hot staging ring, and a version 3 ship aft section on top. A bit to the side we have S39.1. Its job is to test everything below the payload bay of a ship. The aft section, the common dome, and the upper main tank. All 3 together test everything important on the new version 3 Starship design, and seeing them perform parallel tests shows the accelerated timeline toward Flight 12 very well. What's also very important at Massey's and for Flight 12 is the ship static fire stand. It has 2 purposes. On one side, it can perform full cryo-proof tests of ships. On the other side, it can perform ship static fires. In recent weeks, SpaceX added this structure. We call it a Gantry for lack of a better name. I speculated in the past that the assembly might have been added to the static fire stand to test the refueling and docking ports on version 3 Starships. A very important part of future HLS lunar Starship missions, as it can't reach the moon without a pit stop in low Earth orbit. Starships arrive in low Earth orbit with almost no fuel left. They are massive but also heavy. To reach the moon with plenty of fuel left to go down to the surface several times, they need at least 10 refueling flights. So those ports will see heavy use on every mission to the moon. They will need to be very reliable. And that might be the biggest reason SpaceX is modifying this static fire stand. In recent days, SpaceX crews added a staircase to one side. One thing is still missing though to make the docking port tester theory valid: any sort of commodity lines. There is nothing visible yet. So we'll need to wait a bit longer to see if this is actually the case. Switching over to the brand new Starship Pad at the launch site reveals a similar picture. It's wiggling like crazy. In other words, every moving part is being tested a lot. The chopsticks are undergoing extensive testing programs almost every day. Now they are being joined by the freshly completed ship quick disconnect arm further up the tower. We've seen it fully extend and return to its resting position on January 14th. SpaceX also added a still missing girder structure at the point where they recently joined the two arm parts together. So there's still work left to be done, but it's certainly not much. The booster quick disconnects on the launch mount itself have also undergone more testing, fully retracted and extended. They left them in the extended position after the test, likely for further work on both. The hardware seems to be functioning perfectly, good signs all over Starbase. Jumping over to the production side, the biggest target for Jordan's camera currently is the Gigabay. If you want to see how SpaceX is doing at Starbase from the air just like Jordan does, visit redlineheli.com/Felix. $25 off for anyone using the link. The Redline helicopter team will show you the same Starbase views our photographer gets on his Starbase flights. Incredible views. The Gigabay has turned into a beautiful and giant block of girders and columns, and we can slowly start to see the details. For example, the only gates capable of moving a full-size booster or ship through seem to be in the front. Every other gap in the construction seems to be too low. Some of these structures might be temporary and just there for the construction, but they certainly don't look like it. The back is low, the sides are low. There's even a bridge in between half the bays on the left side. This is certainly too low to move a fully assembled ship or booster under it. So this quarter of the Gigabay might be for segment stacking, while the front is for fully assembled stages. Also, if the Gigabay gets an access point on the Star Factory facing side, at least one of those possible bay spots would need to be left empty as well, so that segments can pass through. One way to make moving the stages around easier would be to increase the space around the Gigabay. Spot anything that could do that? Right! Road construction crews have recently started grading work right in front of the Gigabay. This might very well be to move Highway 4 out of the way in front of the Gigabay to give the stages more space to move around. This could be a sign of no direct connection to the Star Factory after all. If you want to help us make even better content and fly more often in a helicopter, hit the subscribe button to stay informed. Like this video if it brought you value, and become a wise supporter for those extra heli flights. Be our fuel, chat with me and gain more insights into the topic you love. Thank you very much. It's really hard to say when exactly SpaceX will launch Flight 12. Will it be before Artemis II? Let me know your best estimate in the comments. And while you're thinking about what to comment, here's a word about better organization. AI. It's everywhere. But not all are created equally, and few really feel natural to work with. It's time to present this video's sponsor, Sintra AI, offering a full team of personal assistants, all with their own special abilities. Take Visi, for example, an AI assistant ready to handle everything from image enhancement to trip planning and boost productivity. It helps me a lot while being easy and straightforward to use. Visi can help streamline your daily challenges too. Automate boring, repetitive tasks and enjoy a seamless experience. And Sintra AI has much more to offer. Your new AI team includes highly specialized helpers like Cassie, the customer support specialist handling thousands of customer interactions without breaking a sweat. Or its colleague Comet, an AI chatbot ready to deliver intelligent automated assistance and personalized customer interactions. All in all, 12 assistants are ready to be at your service anytime, completing tasks in over 100 languages. Don't hesitate to give it a try. Go to sintra.ai/Felix or use code Felix to get an exclusive 72% off all plans. 14-day money-back guarantee. Thank you, Sintra, for sponsoring this video. Back to building the future. Starship is all about speed, reuse, and pushing the limits of launch cadence. But Starship doesn't only exist in a vacuum. Meanwhile, across Florida, NASA has been rolling out a very different kind of giant. The Artemis II space launch system has just made its way to the pad. Slower, heavier, and built for raw power and human exploration. Let's take a closer look at why this machine is making headlines today. The last time humans traveled beyond low Earth orbit was December 1972. Apollo 17, Richard Nixon was president. The internet didn't exist. Most of today's space engineers hadn't been born yet. Since then, humans have lived continuously in space, but always close to home. The International Space Station orbits just a few hundred kilometers above Earth. If something goes wrong, help can arrive within hours. We've just seen it with Crew 11. The moon is different. It's nearly 400,000 kilometers away. There is no quick rescue. No safe haven, no spare spacecraft waiting nearby. Once Artemis II leaves Earth orbit, the crew is on its own. That's why this mission matters so deeply and why NASA has taken such a careful, conservative approach. At its core, Artemis II is a test flight, but calling it just a test flight would be like calling the Wright brothers' first flight at Kitty Hawk just a short hop. Artemis II sends 4 astronauts on a long looping journey around the moon before returning to Earth. Think of it as a full dress rehearsal, not for walking on the moon, but for surviving the trip. The main things to be tested on this trip are all about this goal. The human life support systems have to work flawlessly. Navigation and communications need to perform at lunar distances. And then there is the re-entry at lunar return speeds, faster and hotter than anything since Apollo. If any of those fail, the moon program might stop right here. At the heart of Artemis II are 4 people. They are not passengers or test subjects, but test pilots, engineers, and veterans chosen not for spectacle, but for judgment. NASA selected astronauts with deep experience in experimental aircraft, spaceflight operations, and high-risk environments. Some have flown to space before, some bring new perspectives and firsts for the program. What matters most is not their resume, it's why they are here. Artemis II isn't about heroics, it's about us getting used to deep space travel again. We already learned these skills during the Apollo program, but 50 years in low Earth orbit took them away again. Artemis II launches aboard NASA's Space Launch System, the SLS. It's the most powerful rocket NASA has ever built. It's also one of the most controversial. SLS traces its roots to the Space Shuttle program. Many of its components, engines, boosters, and manufacturing facilities come directly from shuttle-era technology. It was a political decision designed to preserve jobs, expertise, and infrastructure after the shuttle's retirement. Critics argue SLS is too expensive and too slow. Supporters point out that it exists now, is human-rated, and can send Orion directly to the moon in a single launch. Both sides are right. What matters for Artemis II is this. By the time astronauts board SLS, it will not longer be an experiment. Artemis I already proved the rocket can fly to the moon and back. Artemis II proves it can do so with people on board. Right now, there is no backup launcher, no alternative vehicle waiting in a hangar. For better or worse, Artemis II rides on SLS. While the rocket gets the headlines, it's the Orion spacecraft doing the real work. It has to keep its astronauts breathing and safe from radiation. It has to reliably navigate hundreds of thousands of kilometers from Earth. And then it needs to survive re-entry. Apollo-era spacecraft were built fast and flown fast. Orion is built deliberately, slowly, sometimes painfully so. Every system has redundancies. Every component is tested to failure. And still, there are no guarantees. Unlike Apollo, Artemis II has no lunar module to serve as a lifeboat. There is no second spacecraft to retreat into if anything goes wrong, as they did on Apollo 13. If Orion suffers a critical failure beyond Earth orbit, the crew has no escape option. That's why Artemis II exists. It has to prove that Orion and its crew are ready. Its launch day begins like any other. The rocket ignites, the vehicle climbs, the crew reaches orbit. So far, so routine. Astronauts have been doing this regularly since the birth of the International Space Station. But Artemis II does something the International Space Station never did. It leaves Earth behind. After a powerful burn sends Orion toward the moon, the spacecraft becomes truly independent. Earth shrinks, communication lags grow, navigation relies on systems that haven't been tested with humans this far out in decades. As Orion swings behind the moon, the crew will even lose contact with Earth entirely. For almost an hour, no one on Earth will know exactly what's happening. Then comes the return. Orion will re-enter Earth's atmosphere at speeds exceeding 11 kilometers per second. Its heat shield will face temperatures hotter than the surface of the sun. This is one of the most violent entries any spacecraft will ever experience, and Artemis II will be the first time humans ride through it since Apollo. But a lingering question remains unanswered. Did we really need Artemis II? Artemis I was a success, but Artemis I flew without humans. Sensors don't panic, robots don't feel fear, hardware can fail quietly. Humans can't. Artemis II answers questions no robotic mission ever could. How does modern crewed spaceflight cope with such situations? Will Orion provide a safer environment? Are we ready to once more land on the moon? The answers to these questions will shape every mission that follows. If Artemis II succeeds, NASA gains confidence, and we are firmly on the road toward a lunar landing. If it fails, the consequences ripple for years, and it will open the discussion about the used hardware again. This leads to the elephant in the room. What about Starship? Can it be a real alternative to SLS? Starship represents a radically different philosophy. Where Artemis relies on a few extremely expensive missions, Starship aims for frequent, reusable flights. Where SLS launches once per year at most, Starship is designed to launch often and cheaply. And Starship is already part of the Artemis program. NASA itself has chosen it as the lunar lander for Artemis III. So why not use Starship for Artemis II? Because Starship and Artemis are at different stages. Artemis II is about certainty, proven systems, conservative design, known risks, ready for use here and now. Starship is about iteration, rapid testing, accepting failure to move fast, a future promise. Both approaches have value. Right now, Artemis II is the mission that must not fail. Starship, by contrast, is allowed to fail because that's how SpaceX improves it. NASA isn't choosing one over the other, it's making the best use of both. Artemis II is the slow lane, taking a cautious approach that is designed to minimize risk to the crew. It's politically supported and very expensive. Starship, on the other hand, is the fast lane, experimental but cost-focused and commercially driven. And it is designed to scale rapidly. Artemis II is giving us a head start among growing competition from China. It is ready right now. We don't need to wait. We can test and learn. Development costs for SLS have already been spent. Not launching it now would make all the accumulated funds a waste and prevent us from acquiring new knowledge about how to travel to the moon. Success for Artemis II will be quiet. No dramatic landing, no historic first steps. Success will almost look a bit boring. A safe launch followed by a calm journey, a controlled and successful re-entry that safely returns 4 very special humans to their home planet. Let's meet the crew that has been training together intensively since their selection was announced in April 2023. Reed Wiseman serves as a mission commander. A US Navy captain and former test pilot, Wiseman previously spent 165 days aboard the International Space Station in 2014. He's known for sharing his experience widely on social media and was recently serving as NASA's chief astronaut before stepping back to focus on Artemis II training. The mission pilot is Victor Glover. He's also a Navy captain and test pilot. Glover has an impressive resume. He was the pilot for SpaceX's Crew 1 mission, the first operational flight of the Crew Dragon spacecraft, and spent about 6 months on the space station performing 4 spacewalks. When Artemis II launches, Glover will become the first person of color to travel to the moon. Christina Koch serves as a mission specialist. She holds the record for the longest single spaceflight by a woman, 328 consecutive days aboard the space station in 2019 and 2020. During the mission, she participated in the first all-female spacewalk alongside astronaut Jessica Meyer. Koch brings scientific expertise from her background in electrical engineering and her work at remote field stations, including Antarctica. She will become the first woman to travel beyond low Earth orbit. Hailing from Canada is the second mission specialist, Jeremy Hansen. As a colonel in the Royal Canadian Air Force and former CF-18 fighter pilot, Hansen has trained extensively for spaceflight, but has never actually been to space. Artemis II will be his first flight. And what a first flight it will be! He'll become the first Canadian and the first non-American to travel to the moon. Reed Wiseman, Victor Glover, Christina Koch and Jeremy Hansen have spent years preparing for this moment. They've trained for every scenario engineers could imagine. They forged themselves into a team capable of handling whatever deep space throws at them. While SLS is arguably the most controversial rocket ever built, Artemis II marks a glorious new beginning after a more than 50-year pause. And its taxi deserves a special mention. The SLS for Artemis II finally rolled out to Launch Complex 39B on January 17, 2026. The next step after this will be a full wet dress rehearsal. The 6.5-kilometer journey from the vehicle assembly building took around 12 hours at a speed of less than 2 kilometers per hour. While it might seem painfully slow, it's a fitting pace for an ultra-heavy transport standing atop the world's heaviest self-powered vehicle. This is the mighty Crawler Transporter 2. Stefanie, my wife, and I had a chance to see it up close during the Artemis I NASA social. Together with the mobile launcher and the rocket, the total weight exceeds 6.8 million kilograms. To put it into perspective, that's about 33 Statues of Liberty or 2,200 pickup trucks. Let's have a closer look at NASA's Crawler Transporter 2. It has a lot of history to it. Originally built for the Saturn V program in the 1960s, this machine is still in service today. It has literally carried every American rocket that sent humans beyond low Earth orbit. This thing is so huge that it holds the Guinness World Record for the heaviest self-powered vehicle. Weighing approximately 3,016 tons, at 40 meters long and 35 meters wide, its top deck is roughly the size of a baseball field. And it carries a skyscraper-sized rocket on top of it. This giant weighs in at 3,016 tons. To make it move, it requires two large V16 diesel engines with 2,750 horsepower each, and it has terrible fuel economy. It uses around 390 liters per kilometer, about 165 gallons per mile, totaling at 2,623 liters from the vehicle assembly building to the launch pad. That's enough fuel to drive a regular old car from Florida to Alaska. Two additional 1,000 horsepower engines are powering the other onboard systems like jacking, steering, lighting, and ventilation systems. The currently used Crawler Transporter 2 has been upgraded for the Artemis program. It's now also known as the Super Crawler. As a fun side note, it's a hybrid. Its diesel engines charge batteries which then power electric motors. All aboard, we are heading into the future. And where is that exactly? Beyond orbit and back to the moon. NASA is preparing to build lunar bases, while the Department of Energy is developing a nuclear reactor to power them. Our first off-world outpost will be the moon, and this is not some far-fetched fantasy anymore either. As Administrator Isaacman has made perfectly clear, by the time Artemis III brings humans back to the lunar surface, materials for base building will wait for them. This time, it's not just about footprints and flags, it's about staying and learning how to live somewhere other than Earth. Another recent announcement underlines this ambition. NASA and the Department of Energy are racing to put a nuclear reactor on the moon by 2030. The Fission Surface Power Project was created to tackle a fundamental challenge. Lunar nights last 14.5 Earth days, during which solar power is useless if you're not in a permanently lit South Pole region. Batteries that are able to sustain operations through such a long time of darkness and cold would be impractically massive. The power plant is not a nice-to-have, it's an absolute must-have to survive. Compared to power plant reactors on Earth, this one will be tiny. According to NASA, the output target is at least 40 kilowatts per year. That would be enough to power 30 average households. A single load of uranium fuel for this reactor will last around 10 years. This pocket-sized reactor is roughly the size of a typical sedan, and the design team has a 15-ton weight limit to work with. On January 13, 2026, NASA and the DOE signed a formal memorandum of understanding committing to the deployment of a lunar surface reactor by 2030. This is real. The deployment will include a one-year demonstration beginning in 2031. And since 2030 still sounds like sci-fi to most, let me clarify, this goal is just 4 years away. All the science is in place. There is nothing outlandish in this plan. Even transporting from Earth to the moon looks unproblematic, with many competing companies aiming to provide large-capacity lunar delivery systems. Lights on, let's power up the moon. And that's it for today. Smash the like button, subscribe for more. This is what fuels the algorithm, and this is how you can help us for free. Check out our epic shirts in your favorite Space Nerd store. Our brand new Raptor emblem design and countless others are there for you to explore. Click the card or the US or worldwide link in the description. And if you want to know how SpaceX managed to build Raptor 3, the new Starship powerhouse, and what makes it special, watch this video next to continue your journey. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again in the next episode.